Some of my own experience are the hand pain. The hand pain, I've never experienced the hand pain. I only experienced it once after all the pains were gone. But the chest thing was the first I started experiencing.
When I heard him, I didn't know he was a sickler until last year. Though at birth, from birth till like age 2, he was always getting sick, always leg pain, my hand and everything. We did a genotype test, then they told us to say AA. So we didn't even think it was sickle cell anemia. So once the clocked 2, he stopped having crisis. So we continued like that until last year. He was amidst exam. It was during the exam, he now started serious, couldn't breathe properly again. Naturally, he's always been on the, no matter what he eats, he doesn't add weight. But for him, I knew from birth that he was a sickler.
When there is a deformity in this oxygen carrying capacity of the blood, that is, there is a deformity in the red blood cells. This oxygen carrying capacity becomes abnormal. It can no longer hold. Now, what we call the sickling, that word sickle cell came from sickling of the red blood cells. This red blood cell is biconcave, and when it is now sickled, its course is sickled. You know, like a sickle, that means the capacity, the ability to carry the oxygen is reduced.
There are a lot of challenges, but I will go with, growing up having sickle cell is one of the most difficult things ever, and I believe also that surviving sickle cell is dependent on how the warrior's been treated.
Living with it in your school days, you have to know how to survive. Sometimes you miss classes, you miss exams because you're having a crisis. Sometimes you have to, your relationship between your family and friends becomes there's this strain, especially if you don't have a patient family, that really understand what sickle cell is.
I was exposed to a lot of medications, a lot of treatments, a lot of prayer houses, a lot of deliverance sessions. So, being a child, you have no option. You just have to go with whatever your parents say.
Whenever any person has had sickle cell and there is manifestation, then what we can do is to now treat or prevent them from having crisis. There is one thing to have sickle cell, another thing is to have crisis from the sickle cell. This crisis is due to deprived oxygen delivery to the blood cells.
Malaria is something that actually brings my own crisis, and blood infection, the usual typhoid that they call. If it starts with my limbs, I know malaria is around the corner. But if it starts with my vertebral column, I know that this could be blood infection.
What makes me know that, okay, probably I'm going into crisis is that I start feeling a bit tired, a bit weak. Then I start feeling these pinches, on my body. I started having crisis even before we knew it was sickle cell. So I've been living with I'm 35 now, so let me say for 35 years.
There are times I don't go to work for like a month, sometimes 2 months, as long as the crisis lasts. But thank God for the kind of people I work with. They tend to understand with me. It's financially burdensome. Your work, if you don't have good people working with you, it affects that too. And there are some instances whereby you lose a job.
I won't say it has been easy for with the siblings and him as well, because I know right from our childhood it has been a tough part for us. It has been a tough struggle. Most times when we are on break and we get to witness him during the crisis, it is always heartbreaking and a tough one to see, to be honest.
There are many complementary remedies. So many people have tried different things, but we know, scientists, that the major cure for sickle cell is red cell transplant, bone marrow transplant. Go down and transplant whole genital cells, okay, and transplant it so that they will now start producing the new cells, the newborn cells that carries oxygen better than the adult red blood cells. So that's the only major treatment. The other complementary measures are just palliative paper, right? Well, for scientifically, we have also used hydroxyurea of this medication.
And the stigma starts from home sometimes, right? Starts from the family, and of course they will think you're different, and this brings about conflicts between. Sometimes they even say it's the woman's fault, like for bringing forth a child with sickle cell. So there's this conflict between a household.
But the stigma is still there. Now, what did you do now? Why didn't you do blood tests before you at the point you're telling somebody this was going on? It's not as if you've not actually blamed yourself for what happened enough, but they're still telling you should have known better.
At home, somebody has, I don't want to mention it, someone has told me that if you die, you are not the only child. Okay, I don't know if you get the message that was being passed, like you cry so much. Every time it's all about you, every time you're always sick and all that time. I didn't cause this for myself.
The first time that I told them that I was a sickle cell, but they didn't believe me until my mommy told them that I was actually a sickle cell rather than not believe me. They apologized for laughing, then they not started treating me nicely.
I've been in a relationship where the parent told the person I was going out with that they don't live longer. There's no hope in getting married to this person, and they wouldn't want their child to go into a short marriage.
Some of it are, let's start with our cultural and religious beliefs that this is not a genetic problem. They don't see it as a medical problem. They see it as spiritual in Africa. So these are the kind of things we want people to know, that this is a medical condition that can be managed. When you give birth to a child and the child is always falling sick, high fever, always crying and all that, automatically people will think that, okay, the child is possessed, And so those kind of things actually is a societal problem, and this gives rise to so many challenges as I listed. Some people believe that it is contagious, right? And it's not. It's not contagious. It's a genetical problem. So when you want to be among people just point fingers that, okay, this child or this adult has sickle cell. Why? They really don't have any explanation to actually guide them through, and then they tend to say that you don't live long because you have such a disorder. And honestly, yes, before all the medical interventions, children die before the age of 5, not because it's spiritual, but because there's lack of hospital care and proper drugs. But with hospital care and proper drugs now coming into play, there's a bit of improvement, and warriors can live to 90 years.
So the parents need to be educated that if their genotype does not match for produce at least AS or AA, they should not go ahead and marry.
I am still blessed. There's a lot of pain associated with it, but I'm still thankful. I'm saying I'm still grateful. I mean, regardless of everything, I still have someone who was able to kind of damn the consequences and say, okay, yo, forget about what other girls have said. I'm gonna marry you, regardless of what they said. I'm gonna take a risk on you, and she did. And I got married, and I have 2 kids.
For me, that helped me to build a lot of positivity, because I've been surrounded by so many negativity. I just had to develop it. But then, you can be stronger than anything that is thrown at you by life if you choose to be strong. If you let situation, you don't have to be a victim all the time.
For children with sickle cell, your life is still ahead of you. You can be anything in life. There is no limit to how far you can get to.